Welcome to War Room Impeachment Live from Capitol Hill, just yards away from where the trial of the century ends with a whimper, not a bang, this afternoon. More rebuttals to the President's State of the Union message. It's 5 February, the year of our Lord, 2020, episode 151 of War Room Impeachment on the 134th day of the Pelosi captivity. We've now crossed over 2 million downloads, brother Raheem Kassam. Good job. On the John Fredericks Radio Network, Salem Radio Broadcasting, America's Voice.news, the platform of the Trump revolution in this country, and of course Newsmax TV, crossing 70 million homes. Raheem Kassam, Jason Miller. Raheem, first of all, we had a fantastic event yesterday in the lunch. It was extraordinary. My phone blew up with all the people. Kind of the populist nationalist movement. We like to have all the significant events at least either start here or have some sort of at the Breitbart Embassy to commemorate some of the great movements here. And in fact, we had a lunch for Nigel Farage in Brexit, and Nigel was here, and we talked about, I think it was 7 years ago. Or no, it was in 2013 or 14. We had 14. We had Laura Ingraham, many of the people in the room, Laura Ingraham and many other people, where Nigel Farage laid out the entire case of how he was going to do Brexit. Right there, 6 years before. Nigel Farage started at 2%, right, 27 years ago. And yesterday's lunch was just extraordinary. Thank you very much for co-hosting. You were fantastic. Packed house. He's very viable, right? Very viable. Jason Miller from the 2016 campaign, the senior communications strategist, and the comms director during the transition. Jason, let's go to both you and Raheem. Complete total throwdown last night. Went full Trump, right? Went full Trump.
Yeah, and I think the fascinating thing about President Trump is the way that he can continually defy political gravity. And what I mean by that is going into last night's State of the Union, we literally saw it, Steve, behind you on CNN, the headline of under a cloud of uncertainty, President Trump delivers State of the Union. And that's what they wanted to write last night. And he came in and gave such a rocking, positive, hardcore accomplishments, State of the Union address, unlike anything that we've ever seen in our political lifetime. And literally, he broke Nancy Pelosi, outright broke her into a million pieces.
I think she went from master political strategist to master political strategist.
I mean, let's put it this way. Jonathan Turley is out there tweeting saying that Nancy Pelosi should speak down, and also that she can't control her emotions. And I mean,
should speak down or step down?
Step down.
Oh, Turley said step down.
Yeah, step down from the speakership. I mean, these are some pretty hard-hitting things. But again, I mean, everything about it, the presentation, everything from the Rush Limbaugh, the Tuskegee Airman, and his great-grandson who wants to be in the Space Force. Sergeant Williams comes home. I mean, there wasn't a dry eye watching that thing last night. But of course, Nancy Pelosi just couldn't help herself at the end.
Let's go through, Raheem. The big question this morning is: did he not shake her hand, or did he shake his hand? What was the strategy in back of that?
Well, I mean,
even starting off, he threw down right at the beginning, right?
Well, I don't know if it was a throwdown so much as what I would call a snub, right? This is him saying you can't be, on this permanent impeachment process against me and expect me to come in and look you in the eye and glad hand you. He just doesn't do it, and it's not his style. But the funny thing is, the result of all of that was that Nancy Pelosi then sat there for the next some 90 minutes figuring out how she could get her own back.
Well, she came back right away. She did not announce him as it's my distinct honor to introduce. I mean, she came right back and said, hey, the President of the United States, right? Here's the reason, I think.
Was it enough for her, though?
No, but here's the reason, is that we've had, three other situations like this in the country. A couple that led to actual impeachment process. Never, even Andrew Johnson, about the end of the Civil War and how the country was going to be reunited and how that was going to take place and what the purpose of the war was, right? That all got, that's one of the reasons, or the reason, that Johnson was put on trial. Bill Clinton was obviously a major character flaw, lied to the nation. It was a personal thing, but it lied to the nation. You say, hey, if you're the chief law enforcement officer, how do you do that? Trump has been very different. They said he's a clear and present danger to the republic over and over and over again, okay? That's what she had to sit there. I actually think President Trump, I think the genius of it is that he symbolically threw down with her and then never mentioned it the entire time. I think the power of the speech to me was he never even referred to the impeachment. It's the difference between the actions of Trump and the talk of everybody else. Everything else is talk. But they put him up as almost an enemy of the state. They put him up as somebody who's a clear and present danger and must be removed immediately. Talib, I think it was afterwards, her pure hate, she walked out, right? And the TV didn't pick it up. I think Tim walked out. Her hate afterwards was just unvarnished, right? She goes, he's got to be removed. He's a danger to the state. He's a danger to the republic. You know, this is the raw hatred's still there.
Well, he's the enemy of the status quo, is what he is, and that's what shone through last night. And it's the differences between previous impeachments and the differences between previous animosity between speakers and presidents getting up there and doing this is that this is personal between these two. But the distinction is Nancy Pelosi takes it personally on behalf of the establishment, and Donald Trump takes it personally on behalf of the American people, and you can see that.
Yeah, and I mean, look, there's a frustration with the Democratic Party because now they're looking and saying, did we screw this whole thing up? Trump's numbers are better.
Do you think the reality started to hit them right there in the middle of the speech?
I think for a lot of them, because the way he did it last night, look, last night was a positive presentation. He was going through, but they've so smartly picked a number of these wedge issues, which again, they shouldn't be wedge issues. So if you're an American sitting at home watching that, you're talking about sanctuary cities. You're talking about defeating socialism and making sure that we put in the rightfully elected president in somewhere like Venezuela. These should all be no-brainers, but Democrats remain seated. I mean, there was that moment where President Trump literally called out the 132 lawmakers in that room for the socialist takeover of healthcare, and they were in the mumble tank. They had no pushback, and they realized it's almost like the electricity monster from Spider-Man. The more they keep throwing at it, the bigger it gets and the stronger it gets. And the Democrats have literally single-handedly improved President Trump's standing going to this race in November, and I think they're pretty mad about it.
Well, you think about the body blows that they received. To answer your question as well, is did this hit them in the moment? No, it hit them in the 24 hours before the moment, which was even more beautiful. It hit them at Iowa when the drastic level of incompetence was shown up, and how it's dragged into today. And you talk about the specter of impeachment hanging over the State of the Union.
Are we still at 62% in Iowa? Have we popped up any bigger percentage?
It's up to 71%.
Yeah. Another 9% in the last 12 hours, 14 hours.
But here's the thing. We talked about the New York Times headline, right? Under a cloud of suspicion or whatever. The cloud of suspicion is over the Democrats. It's over the Democrat Party. And even Democrat Party veterans are now saying this. They want changes in leadership at the top. So that's the first big body blow of all this. The softer body blow has been the derailing of the impeachment process, the boredom by which the American people feel about this, the fact that the television cameras haven't been covering the last couple of days in there as well, no live coverage on the networks. And then finally, of course, was the Gallup poll that came out yesterday ahead of the State of the Union that showed the Republican Party at its most popular since 2005. And imagine going in as Nancy Pelosi up there and having to think about all those things and internalize all those things and trying, as you might, not to wear it on your face, but she did all night.
Oh no, the mask came down. You could tell she was talking to herself. She was mumbling. She didn't know when to stand, when to applaud, what to do.
And all these things are inextricably linked. I mean, the fact that this period of chaos for the Democratic Party, the screw up in Iowa, the failed impeachment, these things are all tied together. I mean, the fact that they've moved so far to the left. I mean, I want to make sure we get granular on this point. On some of these things where Democrats were sitting, when Trump was hammering on Maduro, Nancy Pelosi remained seated. Now, she stood when praised and introduced Guaido, but sat for Maduro. When we were talking, or President Trump was talking about killing a terrorist and that there's going to be a message that's going to be sent, Ilhan Omar was on Instagram in the back of the room, seated, didn't get up. I mean, these are visuals. Even when Trump was hammering on sanctuary cities, the camera cut to Kamala Harris with just kind of a smirk on her face. Look, they lost Susan Collins. This is going to be buried. We'll get to this, I know, later in the show. Yeah. But Susan Collins, senator from Maine, who's kind of one of the not sure where she's going to go on impeachment. Yeah. I mean, she threw down pretty hard on the Democrats and said the way they politicized this and the way that they absolutely goofed their impeachment case, part of the reason why she's going to be vote for acquittal on both counts.
We're going to take a short commercial break, pay some bills here. Raheem, we're now over 2 million downloads, plus we're on every other distribution platform. The reason the podcast of 2 million is so important because we're everywhere else on cable, on streaming, on terrestrial radio throughout the nation. Talk to us how we go online.
Yeah, warroom.org is the website. If you're just joining us for the first time, catching up, make sure you subscribe. There's a newsletter you can sign up to, and also on Twitter at warroom2020, where you can go for constant updates on the impeachment process and more throughout the day.
Episode 151 will be back in a second, talking about strategy and structure in a moment.
Bannon, Miller, Kassam. War Room, Impeachment.
On the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Live from Capitol Hill, it's 5 February 2020, episode 151 of War Room Impeachment. Remember, we're going to be here with War Room Impeachment until the day after the acquittal of Donald J. Trump. And hopefully that day is today. It's supposed to be acquittal day, the day we do the jailbreak from the captivity of Nancy Pelosi, master political strategist, at least right now. I want to go back.
Our captivity by you, of course. So we will get out of this basement.
Well, we'll talk about that, the future of all this. I want to go back to, at Harvard, one of the courses they teach is called Strategy and Structure. It's how you're supposed to think about industrial combinations, but it has a lot of relevance in politics. The structure, and Jason, you and Raheem do this for a living, the structure of the speech and the strategy in back of it, what I absolutely love, and I don't think it's been done in my lifetime, and I've watched, I think, all of these and worked on one, is that he came out with game face on, right? Very different than the other. Came with game face on, turned around, pivoted, either did or did not shake her hand. But then the antiphon to the speech, the preamble, was, I think, at least 2 minutes. Boom, here's the action. Here's what I said. Boom, here's the result. Action, boom, boom, result. Unemployment, all this stuff. This is what I did, right? But just in their grill, you sit there. They weren't expecting to get punched out. He goes in. It's got to be 2-3 minutes. And then he stops. I'm here to tell you the state of our union has never been stronger. And I mean, that is just a throwdown. He held back. What I've always not liked about the State of the Union, they get up there, the very first thing, I'm here to tell you the State of the Union is stronger. This was really a boom, 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 like howitzers.
Well, and I think one other thing, too, is when you talk about a Trump event, it's not just the speech, it's the entire package. It's like I said, it's the actual event. This is why a rally, people don't talk about, oh, Trump gave this particular speech and say in Milwaukee, or he gave this speech in Iowa. It's an event. When you combine in the visuals in a way that's never been done. I know Reagan was the one who really started it with the shout outs to people there.
Stagecraft.
Yes, the statecraft to it. But the way that President Trump took that to the next level last time, in that Rush Limbaugh moment, again, the
Right.
Tuskegee Airmen. I mean,
But each one was structured in a module. There was a
Yes.
module that led up to it, and that was a payoff. You had certain things around a payoff. Sometimes the module, that payoff came in the middle, and then you, like with Rush, you elaborated more, gave him the Medal of Freedom. I actually think Rush, and by the way, Rush is a saint, but obviously that's the most partisan because Rush is the railhead, the godfather of all of the political thinking of the populist, nationalist, conservative movement for 30-some years. But the rest of it, where you're really targeting, that's to the base that, hey, this guy is obviously, somebody we owe so much to. And to give him the Medal of Freedom and have Melania pull it on is such a moment for people on the right? That there's always been outcast of
Has that
even in
ever
the
been
room.
done before?
I don't
Like,
think
right there and then.
No, never been
It
done.
was amazing.
Yeah, amazing, very moving moment. The rest of them highly targeted and this is why I think the socialism thing, to start off, this was a throwdown. Note to Democrats: Bernie Sanders is going to have to. This is President Trump telling you, hey, if you're going to nominate a socialist, later he said about the medicine, but we're going to go through all of Bernie's associations, right? Because Bernie wouldn't be standing and clapping for this guy.
I mean, look, for as much as Republicans have, quote unquote, been on defense during the Trump administration, where the media has gone and tried to split them off, or even going back to the campaign, do you stand with Trump or are you a different kind of Republican? We're rapidly reaching the point where Bernie Sanders is going to become this chunk of lead that's hung around Democrats who are running. Do you stand with Bernie on these crazy socialist ideas? Do you stand with Bernie to get rid of private health care and have a government-run program? We're rapidly approaching that. You can see the way that President President Trump was setting it up. But Steve, I thought the way you just analyzed that, as far as the build and then the payoff, was so great.
So
because
powerful, so powerful.
The way that President Trump has made such a push with African American voters over this past week, the ad in the Super Bowl, continuing to go
And
back
Hispanic.
to and Hispanics,
Yeah.
going back to the Alice Johnson story, and then last night was so powerful.
But he made it. He forced it, and this is why the guys in the White House, men and women that worked on the speech, he forced them not to stand for the country. I mean, when he started going this, they realized he jammed them. I think Nancy Pelosi realized when he finished the antiphon and then went to the country's never been stronger, it dawned on them right then, I got an hour and a half of this on global television, right? That this guy is just going to be a beatdown, right? So what am I going to do? She answered at the end, no response. It was, Mike, I'll just tear it up. And you heard what she said on the way out. You know, she said, that was, you know,
Raheem doing his best Allison Camerata
but what
impression.
they asked her about tearing it up. You saw what she said on the way out. She said, well, it was better than like other things that I had thought of doing. Nancy, let's say, hey, stay classy.
The whole thing, it was the courteous thing to do.
It was.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, listen, I just want to make mention of, and you guys have done this before, and I've done it. I've helped write Nigel Farage's speeches in the past. Keeping people engaged for that amount of time is very, very difficult, especially, and I can speak with first-hand experience of this, especially when the person you're writing for, the person delivering the speech, does not like to give set speeches.
Well, I think, look, as Jason knows, we can say keeping it on the glass, and they just had Gabriel, the point about him. I believe in the rallies going forward, I think you're going to see more shout-outs. I think those as modules work so powerfully. And, you know, he's a people person, right? So he can kind of connect that. I want to talk briefly in this segment. We got about 2 minutes left. On the real rebuttal was not the governor of Michigan. The real rebuttal was Mayor Pete. He came on both, I think, CNN and MSNBC. And it's just not, I mean, I try to be objective with this and look at this clinically. It just does not work. It just doesn't work.
No, I mean, he doesn't have the stature to... He doesn't
Zero
look presidential.
gravitas.
I mean,
it's not just even the Alfred E. Newman look. It's the fact that there's just not that kind of burning. You just don't see this guy in a room with Xi. You don't see him in a room with Erdogan or the mullahs. You don't see him pulling the trigger in the middle of the night when a bad guy's got to be taken out. And I realize he served in the military. He's a naval officer. He went to Afghanistan. He's a patriot. There's no question about that. I'm talking about the thing itself. I just don't see it.
There's no compelling story. And that's the whole thing with right now. Democrats are in this box. They either go with the crazy outsider who they're trying to undermine every opportunity, in Bernie Sanders, or they go with the
But jump in here to come back at me because I think it's more than just a story. I know they all want to talk about narrative. When you see it right, you just saw Trump, right? And you can say even if you don't like the guy, you see the results and you say in a world that is quite uncertain and going through big geopolitical changes, we have a lot of big tough people, you know, running things throughout the world. And I got this virus coming out of China. I have no earthly idea what it is, but it looks like it's going to be bad. In a world that a lot of bad things can happen, good things are happening here. And I see your comparison can't be Mayor Pete.
No, but here's the thing. It's not just the physical stature. The look at the Alfred E. Newman. Look, there have been plenty of short presidents.
I'm talking about the inner. I'm talking about the inner power and the inner. Like Bloomberg, you don't question Bloomberg. And I don't even know how tall the guy is. Bloomberg. And I'm not promoting Bloomberg. We'll talk about this later. But he's got a certain core, like Hillary Clinton does.
Right. But here's the thing with Mayor Pete. He doesn't say anything smart. He doesn't say anything insightful. There's no wow factor where you're like, I get it. This is why the guys. He's just.
It's all pablum.
Right.
This is what I don't get about the left. They've held this guy up. It's all so like boring. He's the kind of consultant, the McKinsey guy that walks in there and doesn't even say anything. You don't hire this guy. Because he doesn't come in and give me a blinding insight.
He's the 15th person on a conference call.
Exactly.
That's what Mayor Pete is.
That's why I don't see the elevation of this guy. It's not just that it's a snooze. He doesn't say anything compelling. He doesn't quite get it, right? He doesn't quite get with the Trump revolution. I mean, Raheem, you do this for a living.
He's very much a deck chairs on the Titanic kind of guy. He can sort of tell you what's going wrong and maybe tinker around the edges a bit, but he doesn't see the bigger picture. The ship's going down. And that's where the Democratic
Party. You see why he was a grundoon
going.
on these teams doing these, cost analysis, which McKinsey was known for. Okay, we're going to come back in a minute. 151, Raheem, Jason, Steve Bannon on War Room Impeachment.
War Room Impeachment. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Back live from Capitol Hill only yards away from where the trial today is going to, we hope, wraps up in the acquittal of Donald John Trump, the 45th President of the United States, only third president to be impeached. The trial of the century will come to a conclusion as all the senators, I guess we get 8 hours of rebuttal of last night. It is 5 February, the year of our Lord 2020, on the John Fredericks Radio Network, nationwide on Salem Broadcasting, on the platform of the Trump Movement, America's Voice.News, and of course, Newsmax TV. We're joined by Amy Kramer, chairman of Women for America First. She is one of the founders of the Tea Party movement and a stalwart of the grassroots movement in this nation. Amy, thank you for joining Raheem and Jason and myself here in the War Room this morning.
Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Talk to us about your reaction to President Trump's. You've been hardcore Trump from the beginning. Talk to us about the speech.
He was amazing. He absolutely was amazing. I cried more in that speech than any speech he's ever given, but any State of the Union. And he pulled on heartstrings. He told real stories that affect people, and that makes a difference. It was emotional. It was, it was something that I think America needed to hear. And I'm glad that he stayed positive. But I'm mad as hell about.
Before we get to the mad, what was emotionally? What was the most emotional part of the speech for you?
I don't know that I could choose one part, but when that soldier came in who had been away, from his family, oh my gosh, it gives me chills just to talk about it now. I can't imagine, and to do that, to have the thought to do that, the thoughtfulness, it's about the American people, and to have the thoughtfulness to do that. We hear him talk about our soldiers, our men and women in uniform across this world, but he truly cares about them. And when that happened last night, it showed his compassion, his thoughtfulness, and that he is a genuine person that really cares. And the American people needed to see that.
One of the reasons I love you and you've been a stalwart of this movement is the fact that you're a fire breather. Came in tonight. You came in last night. We talked, and then this morning you're worked up about the response of Nancy Pelosi. Why?
I'm on the warpath about it. Not only was what she did disrespectful to the president himself, but put aside her personal feelings for him, right? It's disrespected the office of the presidency. It disrespected her office as Speaker of the House. She represents the people in her district, but as Speaker of the House, she represents a chamber that represents all Americans. That is our house. And she not only disrespected all of us, all Americans, by doing that, but the war heroes that have lost their lives, that have given their American blood. She took that speech and tore it up with those dead Americans' names on it, and to stiff the Venezuelan people the way she did. In the Tuskegee Airmen, we could go on and on. It's one thing to sit on your hands, not clap. How could she not stand up and applaud the president when he talked about getting rid of HIV by the end of this decade? What the hell is the matter with that woman? I feel sorry for her that she is so consumed by hate that she cannot see anything else in front of her.
Is it pretty obvious to you that it is now? Because I said, I don't think even before the Civil War, and I realize they didn't give it verbally back then, but no Speaker of the House has ever in the history of this country torn up the president's State of the Union in front of the nation. Do you think it shows you that there's just you can't bring this together? Somehow this has got to be one at the ballot box. This has got to evolve now. This is a throwdown. It's going to be two sides against each other. There is no middle ground.
No, there is no middle ground, and it's unfortunate. But you know what, Steve? It brings me back right where I cut my teeth on politics 10, 11 years ago on Senate and House races. And my sole existence from now till November is going to be to make sure Nancy Pelosi never has the opportunity to do that to any president ever again. Because it was right. She just stuck us right in the eye.
Do you think now the Trump movement and the Trump voters understand that the House is, if you want to back President Trump and if you want to see his agenda executed, you need to control the House of Representatives? So you think last night people finally made the link? Ooh, I got it. We got to have a Republican.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to take that gavel out of her hands. We cannot afford another year of this. Let alone 2 more years, 4 more years. We have to take that gavel out of her hands. We did it in 2010. We can do it again in 2020.
You led the effort, 62 seats.
And you know what? That's why I am focused on, we're launching a Boot Pelosi tour across this country, kicking off from San Francisco, her her backyard, going 9,593 miles to Florida. We're hitting all the 30 districts plus other competitive districts, Senate races that are competitive, and we are going to make damn sure she doesn't have the opportunity to do this to us again.
You do not want Amy Kramer in your grill every day. I'm telling you, it's not a pleasant sight. I've seen this in 2010. The reason we had this revolution, the Tea Party revolution, was because of Amy Kramer. Okay, Raheem, we're at 2 million downloads now, plus distribute all over the nation. We got to jump for a short commercial break. What do we got?
Yeah, if you go to warroom.org, the top bar on the site will give you all the different options of where you can download the podcast and subscribe. The more subscriptions, the higher we go, the more people find us. So we're very appreciative for every single subscription and every rating you give us on whatever podcast platform you're on.
This may be the last day of the captivity. It's day 134. We're going to be back in a moment.
Bannon, Miller, Kassam. War Room, Impeachment.
On the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Live from Capitol Hill, 5 February, the year of our Lord 2020, episode 151. Amy Kramer is in the house with Jason and Raheem. Amy, other thoughts about last night?
I think that we're seeing the collapse of the Democratic Party right in front of our very eyes. She can't control herself. She essentially had a temper tantrum last night. You look at what happened in Iowa, then what happened last night. You think she had a bad day yesterday? Just wait until the president's acquitted forever at 4 o'clock today in the U.S. Senate.
Along this lines, they're calling now for Carvel and these guys. I've never seen beatdowns like Carvel and these guys on TV. The old Clinton hands are in there beating down on the chairman of the DNC. They're saying guys are going to be fired, guys are going to be thrown out. Is Amy Kramer right? Are we seeing the collapse of the traditional Democratic Party in front of our eyes?
We are, but we have to remember that these folks are very motivated to take out President Trump, and they're not going to stop. And so there's kind of this post-State of the Union euphoria we're in right now. He's going to get cleared on the 2 articles of impeachment. They're going to have many in the Republican Party say, okay, let's go right off into the sunset. Let's just have happy talk, and everything's going to be good. The Democrats will never stop coming after President Trump. This is why. This is the time to go and put our foot on the accelerator and call that hearing in Senate Judiciary Committee, bring in the whistleblower number 2 who disappeared, Adam Schiff. Let's get to the bottom of how this all started.
You want to go on offense?
Go on offense, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop at all. You think after this, what's their reaction? Hey, guys, maybe we got to get together and do a kumbaya and come up with a nice policy to rebut.
Now, here's what's so obvious. They don't have a personality. This is the Mayor Pete, collapsed last night on TV. They don't have a personality. They don't have a set of policies. The policies have been so radicalized. It's got to be the politics of personal destruction. They are now all in. They're so all in this, and there's no way. And we can't put it, everybody would love to have a kumbaya moment. I keep telling people, they say he's so divisive. Lincoln, Roosevelt, Reagan. If you look at the times, they were the most divisive people to a civil war, to about how we were going to get into World War II and the end the Great Depression. Totally divisive. Reagan with taking on the Soviet Union and restructuring the American economy around free market principles. Incredibly divisive. Only in the hindsight, because they took the country to the next level, are they looked at as unifiers. Only in that. This is Trump's moment. You see, there's no compromise. The Democrats, the mask came off last night. That's what I think is very good. The raw just contempt for him. Not the alligator clap, which is kind of a cutesy move. This was a raw thing. She stood up and tore up the State of the Union in front of the world, in front of Xi in Beijing, in front of Erdogan. Jump in here. Don't be polite.
Listen,
just jump in.
I want to say something because we're all mad and we're all upset about it. But you know what?
I love it. I'm not mad.
The thing is, we need to take an action item from this. And Trump's base, if you want to help this president, you need to get involved right now and work on these House and Senate races, because it does no good to sit and write on Facebook, tweet, and do things from your home. We've got to take it to the streets and make sure that we take back the House. That is the only way that we can stop that, and no one else can do it.
Taking back the House is not about money. Taking back the House is about knocking on doors.
Right.
Okay, this is the way you did it in 2010.
Retail politics.
And this is the way the left did it in 2018. They went and knocked on doors, right? How divisive, and what action specifically do you think the President of the United States, both guys jump in, or have to do starting today?
Well, I think starting today, obviously, these are the 2 votes. But I think coming out of this, we're going to have...
Does he go on a barnstorming tour now to just rub their nose in this acquittal?
not a full barnstorming tour. I think he has a rally coming up in New Hampshire. I like more rallies, not fewer. I think the one thing that we learned in this process, one of the things that we learned, is that these economic accomplishments, the trade accomplishments, all these things, they only sink in when President Trump is the one who's delivering it.
Exactly.
We can have all the press conferences and briefings of the world, which are good. But until
Look,
he
the team,
gets out
you can
there
have,
and
look,
says it.
Kudlow, Mnuchin, Peter Navarro, my guy, they're all great. But you're right. It only resonates when the president is out there hammering, like last night. Just give me the antiphon for 3 minutes, right? That boom, 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 like a howitzer.
Well, as I remember once back during the campaign when I wrote this, is President Trump would say this brilliant statement, and he looks at it and he goes, "This is really good, but nobody cares if you say it. I need to go say it." And I was like, I was kind of at the same time I thought it was cool,
It's
and then
true.
but it was I was like, yeah, you're
The-
right.
the
Like
me-
nobody cares if I say it. It's all about you.
The message in the messenger.
I mean, I think I feel a bit seen by the get off Twitter comments, but you're absolutely right. I wanted to just pivot a little bit just to the media coverage of this, actually, and what everyone's saying about it. And I was just looking at the CNN annotated notes of the State of the Union while you guys were talking, and after the very first line, where the president says, "Madam Speaker, Mr. Vice President, members of Congress, the First Lady of the United States, and my fellow citizens, 3 years ago, we launched the Great American Comeback." The first annotation from CNN is, "A key element to the Trump narrative is that America was bad before he came along." Can you imagine that?
Exactly.
That America was bad before he came along.
That's why we have people coming across our borders legally and illegally every single day. Because America is so bad. This is the greatest country. He has returned this country to the shining city on the hill, and we are finally respected around the world
But
again.
isn't that distinction so important?
Yes.
This is journalism. This is a news outlet. The distinction between America is bad and hey, we've made a bunch of mistakes in terms of foreign wars and neoliberalism and open borders and things like that. And making America great again is about a reset to when America was already great before Trump.
Don't they have to annotate it like this because he jammed them up where they could not stand up for the welfare rolls dropping and people getting off food stamps and all these great accomplishments for minorities, African Americans, Hispanics. They couldn't stand for that. He jammed them up, right? So they couldn't do it. They couldn't give any kind of accolades to the country.
Right.
That's a
But it's
position.
also the two Americas drama that they want to continue here. And I said this on yesterday's show that you could see the disdain in Democrats and the media are kind of the same thing after the Iowa debacle on Monday, where they were talking about we never have to go back to Iowa again. Not just the Iowa
Right.
caucus. They never want to go back to the state of Iowa
Right.
ever again.
Right.
After President Trump finished up the speech last night, Jake Tapper was on. There are a lot of things that were just, like Rush Limbaugh and guns. Things are just, red meat for the base. They still don't get it after Hillary went and blew the election. They still don't get that there is an entire other world out there besides
that
New
blue
York
collar
City
Democrats
and LA.
are gun owners.
And Allison, one final thing. Allison Camerata, 6:32 this morning on CNN. I watch it so you guys don't have to. Literally, she's on with Mike Smerconish and John Berman. They're talking, Smerconish is begging on the speech, saying it's all visuals. And then Allison holds up the paper and goes, and rips the thing 3 times and then goes, and Nancy Pelosi, and goes on to start praising Nancy Pelosi and how she made her mark. We've broken them. I mean, President Trump.
It is shameful and disgraceful what the woman did. And it is embarrassing that as the first woman Speaker of the House that she pulled that stunt.
It's okay because after today, this evening, we're going to print off the articles of impeachment and we're going to rip them live on air
Right.
here.
Oh,
Okay?
that's your genius. Okay, real quickly, how do people get to more information? We're going to come back and talk about New Hampshire before we go to commercial break.
Yep, warroom.org is the URL. Although if you go to CNN.com, it's Trump's dazzling and divisive re-election pitch.
151, be back in a moment.
Never going to do anything.
Bannon, Miller, Kassam. War Room, Impeachment.
On the John Fredericks Radio Network.
Live from Capitol Hill, episode 151. See, Raheem Kassam is giving me, yes, sir.
I like my breaking news. Not so much
Yeah,
breaking
no.
news, but this is breaking fun. What's the top trend on Twitter in Washington right now?
Hunter's 50th.
Hashtag Pelosi tantrum.
Said first by Amy Kramer. Amy Kramer, I tell you, when Amy Kramer's in your grill, your life changes, okay? This is Amy
Oh,
Kramer.
I don't know about that,
Re-
but
re-
all of us together.
Real quickly, you did 2010. You were one of the founders of the Tea Party movement. 2010, the 62, 63 seats you won, biggest in American history since the Depression. What are you doing now to get rid of Pelosi?
We are we're focused on House races. I mean, that is where
The
we're gonna
dirty
go
30
in.
the dirty 30
dirty
district?
30 and a number of other competitive districts. Boot Pelosi, almost 10,000-mile bus tour across the country, kicking off from Nancy Pelosi's backyard. Remember when we did the showdown in Searchlight, Harry Reid?
Boy, somebody can do a bus tour. It's Amy Kramer, okay?
Yeah,
Get the caravan rolling.
BootPelosi.com. And, you know, this is the thing. The bus is a thread that goes across America that everybody can be a piece, take a part of, grab that piece of it, and have an impact on America.
Jason Miller's sweating already. That reminds me of his early days. We're going to put Jason on the buses. Traveling
Jason and I worked on Senate.
I know. That's why he's like, got that tick. I thought I'd get out of that. Okay, talk to me about New Hampshire.
Yeah, so New Hampshire coming up next Tuesday. This will be an actual primary. Let's assume that they can vote or count all the votes in the same day. Big debate coming up on Friday for the Democrats. Because keep in mind, we only have 71% of these state delegates reported out of Iowa. I guess Mayor Pete is ahead by 1.6% over Crazy Bernie. Pocahontas tumbling, but with just a few days to go. Pocahontas. Bernie is at 24%. Mayor Pete's at 15%. Biden has slumped to 15%. And Pocahontas is down to 10% in the Boston Globe.
Here's the thing: if Warren can't represent in New Hampshire, isn't her campaign over?
Absolutely.
She finishes third. The Bernie guys are going to go nuts now. You're just getting in our way. It's us versus Mayor Pete. Biden and Warren implode in the next 5 days.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Biden's dead already. It's just he's basically the Walking Dead. But what you're having is a galvanization around Bernie and Mayor Pete. Then with the specter of what can Mayor Bloomberg do at Super Tuesday. That's out there. And so Democrats, look, I mean, they have
Would Bloomberg rather have Mayor Pete as his instrument, or would he rather have Bernie?
Oh, he wants Bernie because again, the whole rationale for Bloomberg's candidacy.
He wants a socialist.
He wants a socialist because then he can be like, hey, guys, I'm the normal one. Right? Short, but normal.
Yeah.
But if he's going up against Mayor Pete.
Hey, do you have something against short people?
No, but he's.
Amy Kramer topping off at 4'11".
Yeah, I know, but she could beat me up there. So that's it. But here's the thing: if it's him against Mayor Pete, then it's okay. I have $2 billion I'm going to dump in, or maybe it's $3 billion or $4 billion or whatever he's going to spend. But then you essentially have two lame candidates. Neither one is at all exciting. So look, they have Larry, Curly, and Moe right now. That's going to emerge out of this heading into Super Tuesday. None of the three give the Democrats a lot of confidence.
Rahima, you were our live reporter last night, correspondent at the Trump Hotel for the speech. How was it?
It was busier than I've ever seen it, and I've been there for some of the most.
Have you now?
Yeah, I have. I've been there a bunch. Believe it or not. It was almost to the point where you couldn't move, right? But the atmosphere, as soon as he started speaking, you could tell that people got it. They got where he was going. They got the lead up. They got the build up. It was a really remarkable place to be last night. If you're into listening to that and into all of the surrounding environs, as a result, it was phenomenal.
America's living room.
America's living room. Okay, 151. We got War and Pandemic next. Big announcement on pandemic bets this afternoon.